Welcome to our weekly market review brought to you by ETM Analytics and TreasuryONE. I'm joined by TreasuryONE's currency strategist, like every week, André Cilliers. Now, following last week's flash crash, there are still some jitters remaining in the market, but calm has significantly been restored after the Bank of Japan had to come out and say, whoa, guys, we won't hike rates any further, not with this much volatility. There was a lot of debate about the Federal Reserve's decisions around interest rate cuts. And really, that is the big focus. To this point, that's the big focus of this week, will be the US inflation data coming out later this week. We are expecting a softer print, which will just reinforce market expectations that the Fed will start cutting in September. But really what we will be looking for is for further insights into it feels now like the 2-year-long question on whether or not the Fed has done enough to engineer the soft landing, or whether or not the American economy will in fact swing into a recession.
Yes, good morning, and a very good summary of last week, so we don't have to dwell on that again. We always have hiccups in the markets. That's why we have these interesting times and these discussions. But we're back, as you rightly say. What is the Fed going to do? And we've been asking that question for a heck of a long time. And the only thing that we do know is that the more we ask the question and the more time that passes, the closer we get to actually something that will happen. And that will happen, I stick to my guns, will happen in September. The market, after the hiccup last week and the turmoil in the markets last week, started speculating heavily on a 50 basis point cut, and then having 2 of those and even a third, possibly, but that's markets. That will always happen. They will always speculate. They will always overrun a little bit. I'm going to stick to my guns and say that we do get a cut in September. We're getting inflation this week. I think it comes out around about the 3%, at most 2.9, which keeps us on that path for September. But I am still more in the camp of a 25 basis point move. So I think after the release of the PPI and the CPI and retail sales and all the figures this week, we will have a market that sort of retreats a little bit and says, okay, there's not a possible recession, but a soft landing, and the Fed can be on course with cuts from September onwards, and as I say, 25 basis points rather than 50 basis points.
Yeah, you get the impression that the Fed will prefer to remain cautious. And, there's a lot of hiccups, like you call them, still in the system. And if you look at this week, for example, on the data release front, it's fairly quiet, but there are these several risk factors still baked in for the week. Everyone, for example, is waiting on Iran. Will they attack Israel? Won't they attack Israel? If they're going to, how big is it going to be? So there are still a lot of possible hiccups for this week to come. But at least for now, it seems like it will be the US CPI and PPI that's going to dictate the Rand's movements for the week going forward.
Yes, 2 years that we've spoken, and a Federal Reserve that's been fighting the fight on inflation for 2 years is not going to give up suddenly. So the cautiousness from their side will remain. But the turmoil last week took the Rand, and we broke out of the 1850 top briefly. And I say briefly because it was really briefly. There was enough and sufficient time, as we said last week, time for exporters to make use and take the opportunity at those levels, and I hope that they did, because it was good levels, good rates, and we saw it very quickly coming back down to lower levels, and we're back in our trading range, 1850, with figures being released, with my viewpoint that we are going to have a return to cautiousness from the Federal Reserve. I think markets could change a little bit, rates could change a little bit, but it will keep us firmly in the 1850 trading range. We will have to see a move on interest rates first before we can see a really big change in where the dollar is going, where the euro is going, where pound is going, before we will see a rand breaking out of this range of 18 to 1850.
Well, that's still some time off. André, I want to wish you a quiet week ahead, but anything is possible, as we saw. But we will definitely catch up again on Monday.
Yes, thank you. And the same to you.